Hey, 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 welcome to the Purposeful Productivity Show. So glad to have you in the building with us this evening. It is Florence Donald, and I'm here to share another installment. It's starting to wrap up the month of April. Just want to share with you all, like we're at the point where let's take some action. Let's figure out together how we're going to get things done. We've been brainstorming, writing ideas, using mind maps, figuring out answering questions, asking ourselves questions. And so today we're going to take all of that stuff that we've been collecting in this brainstorming process and we're going to put it to action. We're going to walk through a simple uh, 5-step process, 5 steps that we go through to take an idea from and put it into action and actually execute, because being productive is about executing. It's not about ideas, it's not about plans, it's about being able to execute. But when you are able to execute, is you know exactly what your process is and you know what you have to produce to get the ultimate result, that grand idea that you had. So let's say your idea. I'm going to use an example from my own life because I don't put anything on anyone else. I'm going to use an example from my own existence, my own life, and walk through a simple process. Like I said, 5 steps that will take you from where you were, all of the stuff that you've done up to this point. And if you have not been with us, go back to the channel. We've talked about what brainstorming is, just kind of give you catch you up. We've talked about what brainstorming is, what tools you can use, to techniques you can use to brainstorm an idea. We've talked about using mind mapping to get ourselves organized and to capture all of those different ideas and thoughts that we have in a visual pictorial to know what it is we want to accomplish. Now we've done those steps. We followed through on those steps. And now we're at the place where let's put an action plan together. Let's get this thing down so we can execute and end up producing, creating that idea, birthing it into reality. So if you are here to, whether you're live or whether you're later, you're looking at the replay, that's what today is about. And I want to share with you, and I would welcome your questions. So, welcome to the Productivity Show. And I'm Florence Donald, and I want to make sure that you get your questions answered tonight. So please feel free to go ahead and put questions in chat as we get started. But before I do a whole lot of getting started, I want to say hello to some folks who are in the building with me tonight. I want to say hello and welcome, 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 because you all are super important to me. Mr. Hunt, Mr. Hunt. Mama, I done made it. Hey, David Hunt, how you doing, brother? So glad to have you in the building. And apparently you finally made it to be first. Awesome. And hello to hello to Frank Jackson, who's in the lounge with me, shaking his head at you, David Hunt. Just so, and if you guys want to come in the lounge, let us know, and uh, we'll figure that out together. Welcome, 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 Frank, as one of our moderators, and welcome to the Emotional CEO. Yes, happy Good Friday tonight. I considered, just so you know, I considered not going live because it is Good Friday, and so many are in service this evening. But I decided to continue to stay consistent and move forward with today's show. We're going to endeavor. Oh my goodness, here comes the little red car. I'm going to take them keys. Just saying. I'm taking them keys, Tora. I'm taking your keys. Little red car coming up the driveway. Coming up the driveway. Let's see. And we have another moderator. The three moderators who are on the channel, Inanea, welcome, young lady. Glad to have you in the building with us. Just want to recognize those who are serving you all, the community who show up week after week here. They're doing the hard work to make sure you have what you need, the information you need. So thank you all for serving the community. Hello, Micah Flemings. Glad to have you in the building with us this evening. This gentleman, Philip, cowbirds, sir, I had never heard of such a thing. I was like, okay, okay. But you don't know when you are entertaining angels, right? That was the lesson from your devotional. You don't know when you are entertaining angels. So, so glad to have you all. There are 10 of you all. I don't think I put 10 names up on the screen, but it's all well and good. So let's jump into this idea today about moving from idea or brainstorming into action. This, for those who don't know professionally, this is really where I live. This is where I am every day in my professional life, taking ideas and concepts and turning them into reality. So it's a topic that I know well because I work with it every day. And I'm going to walk through how I personally uh, go about putting an action plan, or some would call a project plan, together to turn an idea or a concept, what's in our brain, what we're thinking, what we expect, into reality to actually make it something real, something we can see, we can touch, we can experience. And the example I'm going to use is something I did this past February, the Iron Sharpens Iron Summit. That's just really an example, whatever your example is, and I'm going to encourage you to think about, and if you would be willing to share your example in the chat this evening or in the comments if you're watching on replay, what your idea is that you're looking and you're expecting and you're working through putting into reality to make it something real. So the first step, I said 5 steps. So first step is you had to have the idea. You had to have the concept, the goal. And again, you needed to go through in using a brainstorming process to define what that idea was, not have it be vague. Answer who, what, when, where, and why questions for yourself and for others, to put it into some document. I submit a mind map. It's a great document, but get that idea out so you can see it. You can say, what are the things that I really, really commit to and I'm serious about putting into the earth, birthing into the world? This is like, start there. What is the thing? Whether it's a document, whether it's something physical, a product, a book, a helping another person, a course, a webinar, a speech, the ideas go on. And there is no limit to what you can put out into the world. The limiting belief, I believe, is what I'm doing doesn't have value or it's not significant to enough people. The truth of the matter is that thing that you're holding on to and you're trying to duck and not be seen is worth something to someone. That story that you're holding on to, that idea that's swirling around that you've been twiddling with, it's worth something to someone other than yourself. So that's step one. Get that idea, that concept out. Be very clear about what it is. Now, for me, as I said, I'm going to use this example. I've been doing Iron Sharpens Iron for this year was the third year. But 2025, February of 2025 was when it really crystallized for me. Prior to February of 2025, I had not named it a summit. I got very clear that this month long event is a summit. It was around a specific topic, very clear. And the topic was helping new business owners, small business owners, solopreneurs understand some key concepts, ideas, and principles that are necessary to execute. And indeed, it translated not just to a business owner or a solopreneur, but it translated to those of us who do volunteer work. Classic volunteer in your house of faith, in your homeowners association, in a community service that you believe in. All of them, all of those ideas are applicable in your family. The ideas and the concepts that we went through, those 8 sessions, were applicable to our lives. We have to just open our mind to see it that way. So now that you've got this idea, this concept, and you fleshed it out, in my case, iron sharpens iron, I had to figure out what are the outcomes? What are the things, the pieces and the parts? This is step 2. The pieces and the parts. You don't start with an idea and in 2 days you're at the end. What most of us think, we have an idea and in 2 days we think we're going to be at the end. That's not quite the way it works. There are pieces and parts, or as I call them in my world, deliverables. You may want to write that word down, deliverable. What are the things that I have to produce with myself or with my team to bring this idea to fruition, to actually make it real in the world? With the summit, to make 8 master classes in essence come to fruition, and for people who chose to participate to show up, know when they were happening, know what the topics were, know who was going to be teaching them or training them or educating them or sharing their story with them, and show up on time. So, what did that look like? Well, I needed to find 8 guest speakers. That was one outcome. 8 people to cover 8 topics. Number 2, and these are not in a particular order, I'm just telling you what the outcomes were or the deliverables were. I needed to figure out the value proposition. What was it that those who chose to come to the summit, to attend the summit, to listen, take notes, and particularly those who came to the lounge for the VIP Q&A with the guest speakers, what is it they were going to walk away with? What is it that I wanted to make sure that they got, they achieved, they experienced? Then I needed to figure out what are the 8 topics. I had 8 dates that needed to fill topics. That was the other deliverable. The actual topics, what did they include? What were they supposed to achieve? And who was going to deliver each topic? I had 8 speakers, but they had to be slotted to the right topic for them and for those who would attend. If this is making sense to you, it's not a fancy talk today, but it's very real. If this is making sense to you, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And I'm going to ask you a question before I go any further because this is going to be important for you to know. And that is, uh, I used several apps, but what app do you use for your action plans? What app do you use for your action plan? I am going through quite a list today. And if you don't have a place to document this stuff, it can be troublesome because our human minds won't remember the details. Those little minds of ours, they'll forget all about those details. So then I had the topics, I figured out the guest speakers, I figured out the value proposition. Now it was time to put together an event page. I call it an event page, some call it a sales page. But where those who I would want to know that the summit was occurring, who was speaking, what were the topics, when were they going to speak, how did they get registered, make it easy, one stop shop. And then I had to write the copy, all of the things. So that was another deliverable, the event page or the sales page on the website. The next one was an email sequence when I wanted the sequence of emails that those I wanted people to know about, and the email sequence that when people registered for the VIP, that they got a separate set of emails over and above the ones that everybody else got. So there were two streams of emails and they split off. Everybody started with one, but as people began to register, those who registered veered off and got a different set of emails. Not only planning that out, but writing them, editing them, and scheduling them, going into my email system and saying when this person registers, they automatically get this sequence of emails. Okay. The other deliverable, so this is thinking through whatever your process is, whatever idea you're bringing to fruition, you're going to need to go through. It may not be the same outcomes, but it will be some set of outcomes. Whatever they are for you and for the idea, the concept, the goal, the objective you're endeavoring to achieve. For the summit, another was the graphics. Just getting the content together, the images, the copy, the look and feel, to turn that over, in my case, to turn it over to the graphic designer. And just let me just tell you, if you want a phenomenal graphic designer, the emotional CEO got your back covered. Let me know. But turn it over to him in enough time for him to create thumbnails, social media graphics, email graphics, and other graphics that were applicable to the summit. That didn't happen the day that it was occurring, it had to happen weeks ahead of time. Then I'm going to end with this outcome or this deliverable, and that was all of the social media posts, whether it was LinkedIn, whether it was email, whether it was YouTube posts, community posts, whether it was wherever those messages went. In some cases, it was text messages directly to people, but communicating and letting people know the summit was happening, where they got to register, where they could get information, when it was occurring, and how and where to ask questions if they had questions that were not answered in the already available information. The idea here is for me to walk through this A through G item is for you to, whatever your concept is, whatever your idea is, know that you need to figure out all of those interim pieces and parts. In program management, they're called interim deliverables. What are all of those deliverables? If you don't live in this world of program and project management, it may be a term that you're not familiar with. The everyday languages, what are the things you got to get done? What the things you got to get done? What are the things you got to get done to be prepared to execute whatever this idea? If it's a speech, if it's a meeting, if it's a party, if it's a graduation, if it is a book, if it's an ebook, if it's a live stream, if it's a video, all of those are outcomes. They're the goal, but there are things you need to do and accomplish in the middle to make sure you get to the end. Making a list of what all of those things are. And the reason I ask about an app, while you can do it on paper, when it becomes a complex project and there are things that depend on this, depends on that, and this depends on that person, and this thing has to happen before that thing happened. I need this information before I can do this thing. It becomes quite challenging, not impossible, but it can become challenging to keep track of. And that's the reason I ask you, what are the apps? And we're going to come back to that. What app do you use for capturing, documenting, and managing all of those pieces and parts to execute, to deliver? So once you've defined your outcomes, you've said, I want this, 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 and that other thing. What does each one of them need to look like? This is where people mess up. Let me just tell you, deal with this every day. I want a book. Well, how big is the book? How many chapters is the book? What are the topics that need to be covered in the book? I want a flyer. Well, what does the flyer need to say? How many images need to be on the flyer? What is the branding on the flyer? Oh, I want an email sequence. Well, how many emails is in that sequence? Who are the audience that'll get the email? How many emails for each thing? Like I said, for the summit, I had 2 threads. Everybody started out with one, and then they split off. So I had to know, for example, for those who registered for the lounge or the VIP event, I wanted to make sure that those individuals got an email every day, 8 sessions that says, we're on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Here's how you get to the VIP event. Here's who's speaking. Here's what they're talking about, right? Those who didn't register, I cut it off. At some point, I said, at a specific point, I said, hey, you have an opportunity to register for the VIP event. Here's where how you do that. And they stopped getting messages. Then for those who registered, this is the decision making and this is getting into details. Do I want those people who registered for the VIP to get a bonus? Yes, I do. So at the appropriate time, I dialed in. This was all done ahead. You get an email saying there's a bonus event. Let me tell you what many people think is supposed to happen. And I'm about to bust your bubble. Make you mad right now. Tell me everything so I can decide if I like what you're doing. No. I'm going to tell you what you need to know when it comes to event to make the decision if the event is valuable for you. So for you who planning and have a goal, again, whatever that goal is, that first step is, what does the people need to know to make it valuable for them? Not everything. Nobody, not even the creator himself, told you the end. So those of us like me who are nosy Nellies, who want to know everything before I can make a decision, get short. We miss a lot because we waiting for somebody to tell us everything down to the end. But also, as the person who's planning the thing, understanding how people think, where people get stuck, so that you can deal with it. So that's step 2. Step 3, after you've done all of that and you've got it laid out, defining a schedule. When? What date? What date does this need to be done by? What date does the guest speakers need to be confirmed by? What date do I need to have the topics laid out? What date do I need to have the sales page done? What date do I need to have the email sequence done? What date does the graphics need to be done? Schedule. What is your schedule? You cannot do them all. All of those outcomes you cannot accomplish at the same time, and I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter who you are, how wonderful you are, how smart you are, how brilliant you are. You can't do them all at the same time. So scheduling them out in a logical sequence. I couldn't do the email, event page without having the speakers. I had to have the speakers. But not only that, for it to really be finished, I had to have the speakers' images, their pictures to put on the page. I couldn't publish the event page without knowing what the registration cost was going to be. I had to decide that. So there are things that are dependent, decisions that are dependent on each other. Take those decisions into consideration when you're figuring out your schedule. What I find many people do, they don't take those decisions into consideration. So their action plan, they're upside down and they're backtracking and they're redoing and they're frustrated. Don't do that to yourself. You don't have to do that to yourself. The next thing, once you figured out your schedule, whether it's 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 months, 3 years, whatever your schedule is, make sure you understand your resource needs. It's the bane of my existence in my professional life. Because most of the time, 99% of the time when I hear someone say, they say, well, what resources do you need? This resource and that resource, they're talking about people. People are not a resource. There are a type of capability that you need. So what people and expertise do you need? What expertise do you need to be able to create these outcomes or deliverables? If you don't have, I didn't have graphic design skills, I needed the expertise. Where do I get the expertise? Now I'm fortunate and I know that I'm a little spoiled. I admit it, I'm a little bit spoiled. I got a brother who is a phenomenal marketing guru, planning guru, tell you what you did wrong, do the graphics, get the concept. I know I'm spoiled. Forgive me. I'm spoiled, right? But I'm also self aware enough to know is I don't know how to do that. So that's a skill set and a level of expertise that I need. But I also needed other things. I needed a website. I needed an email system. I needed something to write up my documents in. So what are the resources and the skills do you need to bring your idea to fruition? That will be different for you. Torah, you can do your own graphics, you can do your own marketing, you can do your own writing, but there's something somewhere that you need someone else or some other skill to tap into. Tag them in. It's okay. You just have to say, what is it I need to bring this idea, this book, this show, this consulting, this speech, this meeting, to bring it and birth it into the world? Do not overlook the resources, the people, and the skill set and the services that you need. The last piece of this, after you've done all of that, those 4 steps, the last step is to take all of that, the deliverables or the outcomes, plot them into your calendar. You figured out your schedule. Plot those into a calendar so you can see it and it's right where you can see it. You're not having to go look all over the place and even worse, trying to remember. Hooey, trying to remember. When was this supposed to be done? When did I say I wanted to have this website up? When did I say I wanted to have the graphics done? Rather than doing all of that, you figured out the sequencing, you figured out all of the components, plot them onto a calendar, onto your calendar, so that you can see them day by day, week by week. You can keep track of and not have to hold it in your brain what you need to get done. That's the simple action plan. 5 steps. 5 5 steps. If you do those 5 steps, you will deliver, or as I say, birth the thing that you want to birth. And you've been called or appointed or assigned to birth into the earth. Because you each have more than one thing. But whatever those things are, you will accomplish it by going through these steps. So I got some folks in the comments today. Thank you all. I know it is Good Friday. I appreciate you all being here. Wanted to run through this because this is the action. This is where the proverbial rubber meets the road. This is where the thing gets done. And I didn't want to have you wondering, how do I get things done? So I want to say hello to a few other people who have shown up. I want to answer your questions and then I'm going to let you get back to your family and your faith. So just hello, hello, hello. Let's see who else have joined us. Hello, hello. Miss Yolanda B. Hey, sis, how are you doing? How are you doing? I need to send you something, by the way. I need to send you something. I did see someone else slide in here. I know I did. I am not imagining things. Maybe I am imagining things because I don't see it. I thought I saw someone else slide in here. Yeah, I don't see. I thought I saw Walter Strong slide in, but I don't see him now. I'm looking. Oh, there it is. Hello, you're asking a question. You're asking a question. I'm going to come back to your question. Thank you. So, welcome to the stream. So glad to have you in the building with us. I know I was looking. I thought I saw you slide in here. So, let's go ahead and get questions and I'll start with this one. I saw another one. What are 3 mistakes we should avoid when brainstorming for a project we want to launch? Um 3 mistakes. Easy, as I think about that question. Number one, not opening your mind to all the possibilities, cutting off those wild, unimaginable, too big to fathom ideas, put them down. Go through the brainstorming process. The brainstorming blueprint will help you to stop with the self limiting beliefs. The I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have the right people, I don't have the right skills, it's too hard, it'll take too long, it's not going to be good enough. We've all had it. I've had it. Let me just say me. I'm not going to put this on you. Y'all probably don't have this problem, but I've had all of those thoughts. It's too hard. I let the enemy get to my mind because that's where the limiting beliefs are in our mind, right? Too hard, not enough money, too long, too difficult. I don't have the right skills. I don't have the right looks. I don't have the right whatever. I'm not good enough. They told me it's too hard, too deep, too steep, too rocky. That's the biggest one. Our own box we put ourselves in and don't allow our minds to do what our creator said it could do, and don't allow ourselves to do what our creator has told us we can do. We can do all things, but not in our own strength. We can do all things, but we cannot do it solely in our own strength. So that's number one. Number two is having it rolling around in our head and not putting it out, quote unquote, on paper so we can see it. You've heard me say this if you've ever listened to me. We can objectively look at what we're thinking. It sounds good when it's in our head and we haven't let it out. But when we see our crazy words on paper or hear ourselves speak it, because sometimes we have to speak it out, then we can start to wrestle with it. Then we can start to say, what am I hearing? What am I doing? What is this? What is this thing? So that's number two. Not putting those ideas, those concepts, those principles, though in answering the who, what, when, where, and why questions for ourselves is number three. Put those questions down and truly answer those questions. No one else has to see them. You have to see them. I have to see them for myself, but I don't have to show them to anybody else. I can choose to show them to a mentor, a coach, a consultant, but I don't have to. Those are the three big mistakes I would say people make. If you have a follow-up question, feel free to put it in the chat. Let me get to this other one because I'm taking longer. I thought I saw Tora ask a question. I'm going to look here for a second. Did I see you ask a question, ma'am? You always have one. And thank you all for seeing the graphics were phenomenal. I heard Taurus. Yeah, you do use Notion and Apple Notes, occasionally Freeform. You can use Freeform in your mind mapping as well. So that's a good one. I'm just double checking. Hello, Dolce63. So glad to have you in the building, sis. Oh, it's Sandra. I did not know that was Sandra. So glad to have you in the building with us, Sandra. I'm just double checking. If no one else has a question, I know it is Good Friday. I want to respect that. I'm 9 minutes longer than I anticipated going tonight. Just want to remind you as a wrap up, the 5 steps are get your idea out. Don't keep it in your mind and let it roam around. Number two, define all of the interim outcomes to get to the end. Number three, define your schedule to include whatever that thing is that you want to launch, you want to put in the world, when do you want to put that into the world? Like that end date. It may be 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or 12 months. But decide when that is for yourself. Number 4, identify your resources. And when I say resources, I mean expertise, skill sets, equipment, apps, services. Write them all down. Don't skip them. You don't know where they're going to be provision from. You don't know where the provision is going to come from. But if you don't see that you need the provision, you are likely never going to get it. And the number 5 is all of that stuff that you laid out in the schedule. You said, I want to have this out in the world in 6 months. I want to get this book out. I want to get this speech out. I want whatever that thing is. Map all of those interim outcomes into your calendar so that you see them. And most of all, believe that you can accomplish what the Creator put you in you to accomplish. You would not have this come upon you if the Creator had not already given you what you need. And let me just be very clear when I say that. I mean God Almighty. Let's not be confused. I'm not confused by what I'm saying. God Almighty, Holy One. He would not have given it to you if he did not already know that you have in you what you need to birth it out of you. And he will provide the provision, the support, the angels, the peace that you need to make it real in the earth. So I'm going to say this. If you have not hit the thumbs up button, give me a thumbs up if this spoke to you, if this helped you, if it served you in any way. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of Good Friday. For those of you who are believers, who are Christians, he lives. He lives. He lives. And let us not forget that. And I will see you all back here next week, the Lord willing, with the wrap up answering your questions about brainstorming. Good night, everybody.